we at, y'all? This is the 7 o'clock hour. Okay. So I'm going to talk to you all about monthly sustainable donorship. Monthly sustainable donors help create predictability in our budget. We receive very little funding from grants because there are very few grants that our organization is eligible for, because most of the grants out there that are available and center the work of transgender or non-binary humans are for HIV, and there are fantastic organizations within the St. Louis metropolitan area that work with HIV in fantastic ways, and we do not need to reinvent that. So it limits our ability to seek, write for, and achieve grants. So most of our financial stability comes from events like the Telethon, small fundraisers that folks provide for us, but most importantly, it's monthly sustainable donors. And it's a simple model. It's basically you give us $5 a month, which $5 a month can mean a bus pass one day for a human to get to and from one of our support groups. Or let's say if you gave us $15 a month. So the Metro Trans Umbrella Group has 4 part-time paid staff. We each receive $15 a month because we believe that everyone's work is really valued and equal, and we believe in a living wage for the folks that we choose to employ. I happen to be one of the employees of the Metro Trans Umbrella Group. I get paid 25 hours a week. So if you give $15 a month, you're paying for an hour of my time, or you're paying for an hour of Michelle's time, who is our support group facilitator coordinator. It's life-changing. It's so important for the work that we're doing. $50 a month can cover our internet service at the house. So this fantastic gift that we got of a house, this fantastic gift that we got of a house, so amazing, and has changed the scope and the ability for us to do our work. And it's jacked our budget up quite a bit, right? Because where we once had overhead, our rent was about $110 a month at the World Community Center, which was fantastic and felt really good. It was inaccessible, and we had outgrown it. Now our overhead is $750 a month, which I would argue, as a nonprofit that supports 150 adults a month in tangible ways, that is a super small overhead budget, and it's enormous for us too. So $740 to $760 a month, depending on the weather, right, to heat and cool our home. Because the house was given to us as a gift, we don't have to pay a mortgage, but we still have to insure the property, and we have to pay all the bills. So this event is going to help us make sure that all these things are happening. Monthly sustainable donors, it's what's going to make sure that we have a predictable budget that meets our needs, and then we can accommodate in other ways to help fill the gaps where we still need the financial resources. It's vital. It's so important. Yesterday, when we heard testimonials from folks, it was the undercurrent of this organization is that we save people's lives. And I don't say that in some arbitrary way, like it's a tangible thing. Folks who do not have support in their life find the Metro Trans Umbrella Group and are surrounded by support and love. That can be life-saving and life-affirming for trans and non-binary and intersex folks who we're existing in a place that is not set up for us. Systems are not in place for us, and we have to create our own systems. So I believe that the work that we do is so vital and so valuable to trans expansive humans in the metro area, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. Another one of the outcomes from having a home has been we've been able to increase the way that we support our unhoused siblings in really tangible ways. We provide laundry facilities. We have a shower, which is huge, because if by chance you're able to get a bed in a shelter, it's certainly not going to be safer for a trans expansive human to shower, which is a basic human right? And so having the space allows us to do that. We have a food pantry, we have a toiletry pantry, we have storage for our unhoused siblings to be able to store their stuff. Oftentimes, if you do get to be housed, you have to carry your stuff on your back all day because you have to leave the place at 6 or 7 and not be able to return at 6 or 7. And so having a storage facility that you have access to 24 hours a day can be life-changing, and it can really allow you to like navigate the world without a backpack or a suitcase, so that you can maybe seek employment or just utilize the resources that might be available. So that's my plea for engaging us and supporting us. Specifically, the next few hours, I want to concentrate on increasing our monthly sustainable donors. $5 a month can change things. $78 a month buys a human being, trans-expansive human being, a bus pass. A bus pass can get you access to resources, it can get you access to education, it can get you access to a job, it can get you access to housing, it can get you access to your community. A $78 bus pass can be life-changing. I'm gonna just do a little statistics because we got a few minutes here before our next panel interview. I'm gonna tell you that some of the money from last year, how we spent that money. If I can find my little spot. Let's see here. Somebody can find that for me in another binder. This isn't my binder, so I'm not as familiar with it. Let's see. Okay, so in 2018, thus far, we have assisted 40 trans-expansive humans with name changes, tangibly with $130 a person, a total of $5,200. That doesn't include the folks that we've talked through the process or assisted with paperwork. That is probably double that number. But tangibly, financially, we've provided $5,200 for folks to get their documentation changed, which is huge. If your documentation and your identity match up, it's much easier to get a job, get health care, get all the things that you need to survive. We've spent $1,800 in bus passes over the last year. We could quadruple that to meet some of the needs of our community. Our unhoused support, specifically with sleeping bags and mace and things that folks need, we've spent about $1,045. Leadership development, which is vital because transgender and trans-expansive humans need leadership development. That is a line item in our budget because it's important. $3,000. We spent about $1,200 on supplies for our headquarters. That's everything from toilet paper to coffee, and that's in a year. So some of the improvements that we've done to our home over the last year is we painted, we bought some curtains, we had to get a bazillion permits to get our very awesome ramp that makes our building accessible, as well as our bathroom that is accessible to most humans, and that cost about $4,500. We had to put a new water line in, and that was about $9,500. We're gonna need to do some tuck pointing. We're gonna need a new roof on our garage. We just need some basic things. So these are the ways that your money's gonna tangibly support the work of the Metro Trans Umbrella Group. So that's what I got. Monthly sustainable donors, that's what we're gonna keep talking about for the next few hours. We're gonna reach our goal. I believe it. I believe in this community. I believe in the work that we're doing. And all right, I'm gonna turn it on over to Dan now, and we're gonna do a panel interview.
Thank you, Sayer. I think that's a really crucial point of sustaining membership, right? Of that, it's so great to raise funds like this in big events, but in order to make sure that MTUG is thriving throughout the year, having a sustaining membership, $5, $10, $15, $20. I personally am a sustaining member because I personally am one of those lives that was saved and shaped by MTUG. And being able to find myself as, 5 years post-transition, having now a family and support and being able to live and love and grow as a transhuman, doing work in the community, very much am grateful. So, always encourage other people to sign up, and it's easy. There's a link. Please follow it. So we're going to take some time today, talked a little bit about, with Lady Ashley, of the work that Sage does, and really ultimately having a conversation of how can we be more intentional, inclusive, understanding of all of our community across the age spectrum. because I think there's often a lot of time where we focus in on youth, and that's wonderful. And to think of, little 5-year-old Dan having access to services, who even knew? Wow. It'd be unstoppable. But, the reality is that for most trans folks and those that have walked this journey with us as allies, it hasn't been a pleasant experience, and often is kind of a scary experience for those that are our oldest that are, in our 80s, 85 plus range. So I just want to take some time to have you all introduce yourselves, and then we'll just kind of have a conversation really about how you came into this work, your own reflections. So again, my name is Dan. I'm the program coordinator SAGE at Promo, and I'll ask each of you to introduce yourselves, name, pronouns, and then who you're affiliated with. And I'm sure everyone has seen your face a lot of times.
I've only been on a couple times. My name is Elaine Bruni. My pronouns are they, them. I am board chair of Metro Trans Umbrella Group.
I'm Sister Nancy Corcoran, representing the Roman Catholic Church that really meant to be here today. My
On a Sunday of all
pronouns-
days.
On a Sunday morning.
The Lord's Day, yeah.
And my pronouns are she, her. And if you're a nun, you really, because you live a socialist lifestyle, you really don't have to worry about aging, because it's already in the package. So those of you that are worried about aging, you might want to think about becoming a nun, because, I'm not really worried about it.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was probably very close to becoming a nun on many occasions.
Too late now.
No, it's too late now. That's, I guess, once you change genders, they're kind of against it, right? I don't fit like the prototype of a nun, but I think I would still look good in a habit.
You look good in anything.
Thank you. All right, Sister Nancy, we're waking up this morning. Well, thank you both for being here and allowing me to wake you up early in the morning and to wake you up from sleep. So, to get us started, how did you, both of you, get involved with the LGBTQ community, like in terms of volunteering, in terms of engaging?
So I retired from a job in education, and I promised my good friend Jill All that I would volunteer at the LGBT Center because she was the volunteer coordinator. So I volunteered there and met lots of people, and that was the place. And I met Sayer Johnson and, started to kind of get involved. I worked with youth with the GSA in the state of Missouri. There was an organization. Gay Straight Alliance, or Gender Spectrum Alliance. There are different names in different locations for it. So I started working with young people, and I always knew I was different, but I just didn't know how that equated. And I met some gender non-conforming young folks, and that was really eye-opening for me, because I had that aha moment. Oh, this is me. This is who I've always been, but I never had a name for it. And so I moved from working with the youth to getting involved with MTUG. I met Sayer. I met more adults that were trans, gender non-conforming, gender non-binary, and it just fit. It was like I found my place. I found my family, and I really enjoy doing the work and finding out who I am.
Now, I'm a lot older, so I have a longer story.
I condensed.
So relax.
I condensed mine.
I thought you did. So I was Catholic chaplain at a women's college. I'm 73 now, so this is like 10 years ago. And clueless in so many ways. It's so embarrassing now, but I'm getting smarter. And first of all, we were graduating trans men every year. And they were adorable, and I just really liked them. And then the students would come and work in my office, and one day they would have long hair and makeup and jewels and things matching and very frilly. And the next, because that was parents' weekend, and the next weekend they would come and they're in army fatigue and boots and their head is completely shaved. Now they've got a baseball cap on and all that long hair that was for their parents is under the baseball cap. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? I mean, I thought there were two options. And, you know, and I would call my friend Joan's here, and I would call her, and I said, Joan, these darlings are playing with gender. I didn't even know it was possible. And I love these kids. I mean, they were precious, and they knew I was clueless. So, being very gracious to me, they would give me books like, the first book I received was Gender Outlaw, which was it's what I call toilet reading. It's very little, it's what the first Ms. magazine, and I remember the first Ms. magazine, was what the first Ms. magazine looked like. Little bits of consciousness, bam, bam, bam. And the book was wonderful, and so it opened a whole new world to me. And then their parents, particularly their mothers, would come and they'd give me a big hug. And I, at that time, wouldn't even know who the kids were. And then the kid would come beside, and it would be the kid whose hair was very short and no makeup, long nails, and bow ties when they came to church, and white shirts. And I'd think, oh, they're hugging me because they thought I was going to say something about their kid. And I figured, oh, we're on to something here, Nancy. Because as a chaplain, I thought you're supposed to accept everyone. I can go on and on, so you need to stop me. All right. So 3 years ago, I retired because I hit 70, and I just didn't have the energy to stay up at night with them. And one kid said to me, oh, sister, you're leaving. I use sister when I need to, like when I'm in the classroom, so I can remember who the adult is. But other than that, I go by Nancy. Sister, you're leaving. I said, yes, honey, I'm retiring. Oh. And this was a kid who had given me Gender Outlaw. And I said, yeah, honey, how old are you? I'm 20. I said, I'm 70. I am 50 years older than you. And that meant nothing to her, but it meant a lot to me. And anyway, I left, and I asked my nuns, I said, look, I am so clueless in this area. I'd like a sabbatical to find out. And so, but there's no master's program. You can go, and I already had a master's. I didn't need any more study. So they said, oh, yeah, sure. I said, I've never had a sabbatical before, so this would be it. So they gave me money. And then I moved to St. Louis. I was in Boston. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking, who am I going to meet? And one of my provincials handed me a piece of paper with a telephone number on it. And I called in. It was to Left Bank Books. And she said, I think someone here is going to be able to help you. So I went in, and then she went to Ireland for 3 weeks. So I'm an extrovert, but but anyway, I'm thinking, I mean, here is clueless, walking in. And so I went to Left Bank, I called, and they said Left Bank Books. I didn't even know where I was going. And I walked into Left Bank Books, and I was scared to death. And I said, hi, I'm a Catholic nun, and I'm supposed to meet someone here who might know something about transgender. And as if it was the most normal thing in the world. Oh, yes, just a minute. So I'm like, what? And they went downstairs, and they came back and said, yes, follow me. And I went down, and there was Jay, and I met him, and I swear to God, it felt like 2 minutes, but I think I was with him an hour and a half. And he shared his life. He shared on a depth that blew me out of the water. I mean, at the end of that, he had me. I was in for life. And he said, I want you to meet someone. And I said, oh, great. Wonderful. And a week later, we met at a restaurant that I believe is dead now, or deceased. And I meet Sayer. So, like, within the first week or two, I meet two of the leading conscious, articulate teachers I've ever had in my life. And that's how I got into it.
You just went straight for the gold. You got like the golden ticket to here's the leaders of the trans community. Welcome you along. I love that very much. Left Bank Books, if you've not been, I feel like that encapsulates the experience there. Like, okay. So you both mentioned that really how you got engaged in this work was meeting people that were younger, right? And it's interesting because I think of my experience where so much has changed in 5 years in terms of access, in terms of education, that the thing that allowed me to feel like I could take steps and come out and things of that sort were meeting people that were older, that had experiences, that had the ability to show that I could do this. Do you have something to say to that?
I have a good story about that.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so I worked in education and felt like I really couldn't be me. And then when I retired and started volunteering and found the real me, I was so much more comfortable, who I was. And kids know. They have an idea of who you are. So my first quick story is I was teaching physical education. I was in the gym. The kids were around. One of the kids said, you're like Pat. And I'm like, Pat? I wasn't watching TV at the time. I was
Saturday
way too
Night
busy.
Live reference.
Saturday Night
from
Live
me.
reference to Pat. I'm
Early
like, oh yeah, okay. And the other kids laughed. And I said, all right, whatever. So then a few years later, I saw who Pat really was, and I still didn't have a clue. And then just 5 years ago, I had that aha moment. So the kids really knew who I was before I knew who I was. But it took younger people for me to have a role model. I didn't have an adult role model, as I was moving through young adulthood. And now I feel like I can be that possibility model for younger folks. And I've also substituted as an administrator now, since I've been retired long-term, for folks that have had surgery or whatever. And I go to school in khakis and a shirt and tie, and it's very accepted now, whereas 6 years ago when I was working full-time, I don't know, it would have been. And I had an interaction with 2 young trans male students early this fall, and one of them was a really outgoing freshman, and the other was a very introverted sophomore. And so the freshman came up to me in the hall one day and said, hey, do you know so-and-so? He's my friend. We met last spring. I said, yeah, he works in the office. He said, yeah, we're really good friends. This girl introduced us, but we're not friends with her anymore. I said, oh, okay, whatever. So then he said, we really like you. We think you're really cool. And then before I could get anything out of my mouth, he ran down the hall like a typical high school freshman. And so that made me realize that, he really was saying, I see you. I know you see me. You get me. You listen to me. You're here for me. And so that really hit hard, because I'd never thought that I could be a possibility model for younger folks. And now I'm really grateful that as an older person I could do that.
I think that's a really important part of working in the community, is the importance of just visibility, if possible, right? Visibility as an ally, visibility as a trans person, so that others can see and take notice, and then feel comfortable in and of themselves. Because even hearing you say that story, I helped facilitate the locker room for about 4 years, and now on the other side of it, of someone who utilized those resources and that peer-led support, now in a space where I see folks that are coming in where I was 5, 6, 7 years ago, and it's a really beautiful thing to see that growth. So sister, you were talking about in your experience of working as a chaplain. I was raised Catholic, so maybe that's just like my natural inclination. Nancy, thank you. When you were working as a chaplain, you mentioned to that individuals, like, there's a 50-year age difference, and it seemed like to that person there wasn't recognition of that, right? Right. So for you, how do you see, how does your age and aging experience impact your work in the community and your perspective? You know, how you interact with people, how do you come about in entering spaces? Could you speak to some of that?
Yeah. So, well, somebody said to me recently, "Oh, I bet you do a lot with young trans people." And I said, I really don't, because I find that younger people, they already know who they are. They don't need affirmation from me, but their moms and dads do, if they're Catholic, and their grandparents do. So I guess I see my role not so much in, I mean, I'm graced to be able to be in spaces, but mm, my work is, in the spaces, my work is to represent the Roman Catholic Church, who, some people in this room might remember that 500 years ago, Luther tacked to the door 99 questions about indulgences. Now, for Catholics, indulgences are, if you say a certain prayer, you know most of you are going to hell anyway. So this, as you say the prayers, I mean, most of us, I mean, it was for everybody, you got days off from being in hell. So a lot of people, then in the Middle Ages, you could buy indulgences. And Luther said, oh, there's something about this that is wrong. Now, had the hierarchical church said, Luther, you've got something there, he wouldn't have kept on thinking. He would have been into the fold. You might remember when Galileo said that it's the earth that moves. And he was told no and imprisoned and so forth. And so I think the Catholic Church has had a long history of making mistakes. Slavery is one. So I just want to encourage people that, again, we're in a situation where there's a big mistake, several big mistakes going on here. And so I see myself more as a piece of sand and a clam. You only get pearls because there's an irritation. And things happen. The organization puts things around it to make it look good. So I see myself as a piece of sand to help the church look good eventually. I may not see it in my lifetime, but
Yeah, no, I like the idea of creating that irritation, right? To create that pearl. So thank you for doing that work. You know,
can I say something about nuns as queer?
Yes, please
right.
do, because that's probably the best sentence that you could say this morning.
Okay.
So thank you.
So when I first came, we went to a movie called Radical Grace, and it was about 3 nuns that really live on the edge. Anyway, so I went. I knew all the women, and I really loved them, and I thought, oh, this would be great to see this movie. And they said, there's a nun who does ministry with LGBTQI. Oh, I said, oh my God, I want to meet her. So at the end, there was a panel like this, and she was on stage, and another friend of mine was on, and it came her turn. And she talked about herself here, and she was working with lesbian women in jail. And they were so far away from her existence. I thought, she doesn't see that she has any connection with these women. And so afterwards they said, well, come on up, I'll introduce you to her. And I said, oh, honey, she's nothing to teach me. She doesn't see herself as one with the women that she's working with, and they, wrote a book or edited a book about. So I said, gee, I can't, I have nothing to learn from her. And so, but I thought, all right, Nancy, how do you see yourself as queer? Because I don't identify myself as lesbian. So then, I have publicly, 48 years ago, I publicly vowed to live with women the rest of my life. So I say, okay, you've got something there, let's look at it. So I started listing all the ways. It's kind of like what Peggy McIntosh did with the concept of privilege. Because I first became aware of the fact that my life was very similar to lesbian women when I was living in Alabama, and I attended a group, Sigma, Sisters Involved in Gay Ministry, and they were describing my life. They were petrified about going shop. It was in rural Alabama. They were petrified about going shopping and saying to their partner, you know, what will we have for supper? I had done that for, at that time, 25 years. It had never crossed my mind. So I lived a lesbian lifestyle with privilege. So that was a really good starting point for me. And then I thought of things. Many of the habits that Sister wore bound their chest. Most nuns wear their hair very short because it's so much easier. Some nuns do dye their hair. My mother always wanted me to dye mine. She said, you look so much younger. I said, yeah, but I don't have the money to do it every month. My sister went gray at the age of 21, and she said, why couldn't it happen to you? You're a nun. It doesn't matter. But then I started looking at that, you know, everything. We did the jobs that guys did. You know, one of the things that attracted me to being a sister was that the college that my mother went to, the president was a woman, a nun. The professors that had their PhDs were nuns. And at the time I was coming up, and so this would be the 50s and early 60s, you had an option as a Catholic. You could be married, you could be an old maid, or you could be a nun. And if you were a nun, you could get your PhD. You could be the head of a hospital. You could, you know. Anyway, I'm just raving on. But anyway, I wrote a paper on this, listing all the things, which I should have brought with me and read because it's pretty good. It took me 18 months to have my nuns publish it for themselves. If you think that, you know, that's threatening. And I never could use the word nuns as queer, question mark, question mark, question mark. It was just too scary. Then when they finally, I really pushed it and they published it, people said, oh my God, I never thought of it. And one of my nuns said to me, Nancy, when we talked about gender, she said, I felt masculine most of my life. I just never made the connection. So anyway, I rave on. So yeah, the article is good.
Thank you. Your non-biased
I'll send it to
opinion,
you.
right? Well, first of all, explaining all that, thank you for sharing all that. I think as you're saying that, no wonder I wanted to become a nun, right? Like if I couldn't
now makes
transition, right?
sense,
Like,
right?
let's go live with a whole bunch of women and cut my hair short and
Hey,
bind and wear a habit. Yeah, that sounds pretty on par. Okay, we'll pocket that for therapy later. It's
Halloween.
fine. Halloween. But I think that's a really, really beautiful point in that the reality is that we can live and grow as members of the community in a variety of different ways, in a variety of different structures, and do so in community, right? So this intentional community. And one thing that a lot of my work revolves around is in intentionally creating a space where we're representing and having people across the age spectrum. Because often, and kind of speaking to your experience, it took younger people to be empowered to better understand the community and then in turn yourself. So I think as we come to a close for our segment, and I'll take some time as well, what are some words of wisdom that you would like to tell younger folks? One, so just general younger folks. And then
it's a whole lot for me.
You only have 10 years.
Right, 10 years is 10 years.
and then what are words of wisdom that you would tell your younger self? So one, what's words of
that's
wisdom that you
tough.
would give to younger generations, populations, people, community members?
To younger generations, I think I would say be comfortable with who you are. Seek out resources, allies, possibility models to connect with and listen. And as an older person, I want to listen to what younger folks have to say, but there are possibility models out there today that weren't there when I was young. And I think that's really important for young folks. So I would say, reach out. And that intergenerational piece, I think, is really important. And I think we can all, still relate to each other. And listening is really a key to that. What would I tell my younger self? Ooh. That's hard. I think that I wish my younger self would have been braver to be who I am. I know that I was fairly confident with things that I did as I, grew out of young adulthood, but I also pushed things aside. And once I was older and able to figure out who I was, I think that, not that I had an I don't care attitude, but I was able to be the real me, and I think my confidence was boosted, and I think it reflects in what I do every day and the person that I am. So yeah.
I think so.
Thanks, Steve.
I don't have much because I was so clueless for so long that I don't have anything that would help. I can tell you what I've learned from the younger generation. I have learned, particularly, I would have to say, particularly within the trans community, I have seen integrity in a way I've never seen it in the convent. And that is such a, I think, I buy the God thing, and I think we're meant to be who we are, and I just don't, just to be who you are and have the courage. And in this culture, it's so horrendous. So I'm just awed by the courage that I see of people who I really admire. And the other thing is when I am with the Transparent or PFLAG, which is now Parents and Friends of Lesbian and Gay, really most of the emphasis going in for gender expansive and trans parents of and friends of trans or gender expansive folks, is unconditional love. And again, I'm learning it that I did not that there isn't love and integrity and stuff, but I see it so beautifully manifested. So that's what I probably learned. I don't know that I have much, for my younger self. I bought the system till I was 20. I bought the whole, when I was 33, I didn't know anyone who was lesbian or gay until I went to that Sigma meeting and realized and wrote to all my friends. And the guy that took me to the junior prom wrote me immediately. And he said, we need a long, we had a 4-hour conversation when I went back to Boston from Alabama. It was just, that's how clueless. So I don't think I have much to offer that way.
Well, I appreciate the honesty there and the idea of, we in of ourselves can be visible and offer information and kind of testimony in our experience by just living, but then also always the opportunity to learn, regardless of our age, regardless of our experience. And I appreciate you both coming up here and sharing your stories and experiences, talking about how the age is a spectrum and having the ability to kind of be someone that's older in the community. I think for me personally, of those that I would speak to younger populations, of what, as Elaine was saying, that they're, again, continue to be yourself. I think, especially with our younger folks, of the bravery and brilliancy of knowing who you are and living that truth from an early age, would probably have saved myself probably a good chunk of money in therapy, to handle that a little sooner. But I think that is a really beautiful thing to uphold. And then I think for me, the phrases of like what I could tell myself is ultimately just to continue to be true and present for what we have going on.
Can I add that that's a God thing?
Yeah. And I appreciate that and the idea of being who we are and who we're made to be. Um, there's a book that I want to share just a little segment of to survive on this shore. It's a beautiful photo project by Jess T. Dugan and Vanessa Fabre that looks at individuals that are over the age of 50 who identify as transgender, gender nonconforming. And the first time I looked at this book, I cried because it was people who look like me, who come from a variety of backgrounds that have lived. Personally, before transitioning, I didn't anticipate living in this world past 25, and now as I get up to 30, we're fine. It's fine. It's happening. It's funny. I'm a gerontologist, so I shouldn't be ageist. It really showed me and taught me that this is what we can do to better support our older adults. So I'm going to read just a small segment as we go over to that, because I think it speaks to what we were talking about being true to oneself. So this is from Duchess Milan, who is a 69-year-old transgender woman. I just know I'm me. I don't think in terms of names and forms and all that. It doesn't matter. I'm just myself, and that's who I am. I'm at peace with myself. It's the most wonderful feeling in the world because you're never in a hurry to get somewhere, to prove to anyone that you know who you are. I know who I am, and what other people think about me is none of my business. So that's who I am. I identify as Duchess. My mother said, when you die, you stand there before the light and you said, was I worthy of myself to know that I have liked me? I like me. Okay, and I will tell the whole chorus, honey, I like me. I don't hurt anybody. I don't do anybody wrong, I've dealt with everything I can as much as I can. So just find that inside yourself and take time with that person. Faults, flaws, wishes, all of it, it doesn't matter. We're not going to get it all. None of us get it all. But what we do have, we can polish it till it blinds them. And I think that's a beautiful quote in that, we're all, regardless of our age and our identities, in this together as a community, trying to continue to lift everyone up. And, I appreciate you taking the time to share in what ways have you, through your experience in the community as a person, continue to grow and develop this community. So I appreciate you both. And
We
being
appreciate
here.
you
Yeah.
and your work
Thank
this
you.
age.
Get the microphone.
All right, we're back. We're back.
We're back.
Yes, we're back.
Ooh, I'm very loud.
We gotta be loud. We're loud. We take
Okay.
up space. That's what we do.
We're
We're back. The three of us together. Yes.
The trio.
The trio.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you noticing my costume change?
Yes,
I am
I love
noticing.
it.
Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about this?
It's one of our sponsors, Tito's Handmade Vodka.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm loving them dad bod.
Well,
Yes,
well,
that's
yeah,
hot.
I'm loving
I'm
that
rocking
it's
this.
gluten free. That makes me super happy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, our vodka's gluten-free, isn't it?
No.
it's not.
But Tito's handmade vodka is
It's
gluten-free.
Yes, if I drank, it'd be Tito's all the way.
Look,
Yes.
y'all, this is our first corporate sponsor
Yes.
for the Metro Trans Umbrella Group. I mean, it's
It's
exciting.
Yes, it is.
They approached us in a really community-oriented way with some loving sharing from Promo. They said, hey, Promo, Tito's Handmade Vodka, said, hey, Promo, can you talk to us about another organization that might be doing some good work? And Promo's like, why, yes, we can, the Metro Trans Umbrella Group. And
Yes.
so Tito said, Metro Trans Umbrella Group, we are going to give you $5,000.
Oh, yes! $5,000!
Right. So that's where we're at, right?
Yeah, so with that added in, we're at 17,127.
Y'all,
What?
that
Yes.
is
Right.
so close.
So what time is it?
It is 7:50.
Okay.
Which means we have 4 more hours to go.
To raise how much?
$24,000.
$24,000. So we got about another 7.5 to go.
Okay,
You're
y'all.
so
Do it.
good at
Do
math.
it.
Aye,
That's
that was
amazing.
impressive.
That
You
was
could do
just
that
right
in
off
your
the
brain.
spot
Hey, you
like that.
Well, you know.
$7,000. Can we do it?
We can do it. $7,500. I know we can do it. I
Yeah.
know we can do it.
Most definitely. And
Yes.
to get us to that $24,000, I just wanted to say thank you to some of the people who've already donated, like Janet C., who donated $100, Daniel S., who donated $50, Aria F., who donated $200,
Yes.
Chad K. donated $300,
What?
and Samadi N. Hey, Samadi.
Hey, somebody.
Yay.
Donated $50. But I want to say thank you so much to all of those people, but also stress that what we need to keep going is monthly donors.
Yes,
Monthly
be monthly
donors.
donors.
Yep.
Because just for a monthly donation of $5, we get a round trip bus fare to support groups. We have various support groups, and in our support groups, we service and help over 150 adult humans.
Yes.
And that's very important.
Yes.
If we do $30, we purchase 10 2-hour transfer bus passes to hand out to our participants.
Yep.
$40 will purchase a binder for a trans masculine human. And binders are very important.
And
to the-
expensive.
and expensive
Yep.
to those humans that are transitioning. And that's very important. $50 a month pays for Wi-Fi at our headquarters.
It's a big deal.
We
Yes.
need our internet.
And
Yep.
yes, and that way people can get on there and work on resumes,
Yep.
search for
All the
jobs,
things.
you know, and get empowered. $78 pays for a monthly life-affirming bus pass.
Life affirming.
Yes, that
Bus
means you can get back
passes.
and forth to the doctor,
To work.
to work,
Yes, yes, yes.
to
yes.
everything.
To support from the Metro Trans Umbrella Group.
Yes,
Yeah.
$100 provides a pizza party for one of our support groups.
Woohoo, which who doesn't want to celebrate?
I
Yes.
like
Right.
pizza.
Yes, $130 pays for a scholarship for a trans expansive human to get their name changed.
Huge.
Huge. That's a big step in transition, and a lot of people, you know, that is I'm gonna say life or death to them because
Absolutely.
Yes, because some families never want to give up on that dead name. Yes. Also, $130 pays for water and sewer for 1 month. $250 pays 1 month of electric or gas. It's not a glamorous donation, but it's a donation of necessity.
Yeah.
Yes, if you want to be the sponsor to keep our lights on and keep our heat going, we'd appreciate that so much. And then, of course, for $740 covers all our house bills. Even though we own the house straight out, there's still monthly bills that have to be paid, including insurance on the house. So these are all the ways you can support MTUG by being monthly donors. It doesn't have to be a lot, and like I said, it can be as minimal as $5.
Right.
$5. If we could get $25 monthly donors,
Yep.
we'd be in
we'd
there
be
like
really
Flint.
great.
We'd
Yep.
be really great.
Yep.
And I know there are people out there. There's people out there that can donate $5 to MTUG a month and get our monthly donors.
It
going.
makes a huge difference.
And I'd also like to take this time to challenge the bars on Manchester.
Hey, all right.
Bars on Manchester. Y'all, I'm sure y'all had a great night last night when you're counting out your money on Sunday morning. You know, count out and donate $200 a piece to
Call them in.
call
Yeah.
them in.
Call 'em
Call 'em
in.
in.
We'll
Come
give
on.
you shout outs on the Facebooks.
Yes, we'll give you shout outs. We'll say your name right here. I know
Yes.
those bars on Manchester. I'm not going to name names
Okay.
because I got in trouble for doing that once before, but I'm not going to name names. Well, you know, my philosophy is, you know, act now, ask for forgiveness later. But, you know, bars on Manchester, you know who you are. There's several of you who can reach deep and give $200 a piece because, you know, we come to the bar, we spend money. I work for every bar on Manchester. Just do it as a personal favor to me. Donate $200 a piece to MTUG. We greatly appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a specific number, but I like it. You got to be direct and straight to the
That's
point.
right.
I
that's
don't say
right.
just $200. Come on.
And it's important because they're a part of our community. And
Yes.
we support them, and so we want that support back.
Yes, because sometimes it's time to reciprocate.
Right.
Right.
I want to do the let the pendulum swing a little because you know the Tito's. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling Tito's handmade vodka
Are
for
you?
sure.
Are
I
you
am.
feeling it, or
I'm
are you
feeling it. Well, I'm feeling
feeling
it.
it?
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the.
You're feeling it.
But
But
I-
you know that sweater?
Right.
It looks hot on you. I
Right.
want you to wear it the rest of the day.
Oh, it's hot though. I mean, it is hot on me. It's
Is it
hot.
hot?
I
Well, that's
mean,
why for you,
I'm
you sweat like a-
furnacey. I know.
Yeah.
But I want to hold space in a different way, right? Because while I appreciate Tito's handmade vodka so very much, I just want to say that Left Bank Books has been a lover and supporter of our organization from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
They have been our not corporate sponsor from the beginning. And I just want to give some loving because Left Bank Books yesterday
Yes.
gave us $1,000.
Yes,
right?
$1,000, yes.
Left Bank Books.
Thank
you,
yes.
Left Bank.
Chris,
Thank you.
Jarek, we love you
Chris
so
and Jarek,
much.
thank you
Thank
very
you, thank
much.
you. Ongoing partnership with that organization. What Mission Taco, right?
Yes.
On in the Central West, and they fed us
Yes.
amazing burrito buffet last night.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, and Planned Parenthood of St. Louis region.
Yes, they gave us a $500 donation.
Yes, and then
Mhm.
there's Haley Moore of Calliope Massage Studio.
Yes, they were a donor of